Here in Pennsylvania, it has been raining like crazy lately. It won't stop. Even the days it's supposed to be nice, it isn't. So today's like the first nice day. Look, it's nice, bright, sunny. I'm glad I have the ND filter. I should have fixed my windscreen by now. I might still change it out and go with the cat, whatever they call those muffs. I forget what they call. So, So, what do we want to talk about today? Well, today is about media and motorcycles, and I'm going to talk about what I know. And what I want to talk about is, podcasts, movies, documentaries. Music really doesn't do any, I can't think of moto specific songs dedicated to motorcycles. Yeah, you got Born to Be Wild, and that's a great song and all, but it's not really it's not about motorcycles. To be honest, I argue that movie isn't about motorcycles. Stay tuned for that hot take. So let's start. Let's start with what I know. Let's start with podcasts. When it comes to motorcycle media, I really like my motorcycle podcast. My first podcast I ever listened to was wasn't motorcycles, tech. It was Buzz Out Loud with CNET. Pretty good, and that's when I was getting my motorcycle. So I found Buzz Out Loud. It was good. So I started listening. I found some motorcycle podcasts. And by the way, the first group is all dead. They're all gone. So the first one I listened to was Side Stand Up with Tom Loudermilk. I want to say it was on TalkShoe or Blog Talk Radio, where you had to call in and the phone quality was just horrible. But it was a really neat show, and he actually brought on some good guests. He brought on a good tire guy once a month. He brought on Joanna Don, the gear chick, she has blown up since then, and she actually had her own podcast too, and we'll get to that later on. But yeah, Tom was going for the longest time. He had hundreds. He did not miss a week. And I think what happened was real life got in the way. And he's just you know what? I'm kind of done. I got a wife now, and he was an older guy. He remarried, but he's yeah, you know what? Mom's getting old, and I got to take care of this stuff. He's I can't take care of it anymore. So he ended the podcast, which was a shame. I didn't think it was that bad, but it was a lot of work, and so I get it. So that was one of the first ones that that actually ended for me. Then, and I said Joanna Don, she started a podcast a little bit afterwards, called Moterrific. The sound quality actually at the beginning was really bad. Her and Christy Farrell did a really good job, with content. It's just the first couple episodes were just brutal. You couldn't listen to it, and eventually they figured it out. It was a good podcast. Sometimes for me, it wasn't for me. It was for beginners or women, but it was still good. That one, those two quit right before the pandemic, a year or two before. And again, I think life was getting in the way. Christy, I think, was making some changes in her life. I think she stopped riding for a hot minute and then got back on it. Whereas Joanna, she ended up working harder and harder for Revzilla, then Revit. Now she's unemployed, which I think is a shame that she's unemployed, and yet I got guys hawking stuff that they wear once. So that's not she would go to bat for you. These other guys, nah. So those two had a good podcast. There was also another but that also tied into roundtables. And the guys who usually hosted that was the Wheelnerds, and that is probably my favorite dead podcast, my favorite motorcycle podcast of all time. Oh boy, we got a train. But anyway, so you had the Wheelnerds, and they were funny. I mean, they were the funniest guys. They were absolutely hilarious. And those guys were the funniest. They had great interviews. I mean, Eric Buell, they got Eric Buell when he was doing lines of coke. They were able to get a lot of good guys. And on top of that, the whole they did the whole Craigslist thing, like, reading Craigslist ads, coming up with if it didn't have a title, it was not stolen, or if it was completely blue, it blew, So those guys, Chuck and Todd, were hilarious, and that all stemmed from the Pace, which were two guys from Delaware or the East Coast, and those guys, they took it a little bit more seriously. They were more deadpan. It wasn't as good as the Wheelnerds. I think having that humor really helped. And unfortunately, like, those two guys just didn't have it, so it just wasn't as much fun. It was good, and they hosted a really good scavenger hunt once, and it worked okay. It worked okay, but even them, they were like, ugh. Even them, they just kind of like had to say, this was too much for us. They only did it 1 year. But yeah, that was... I don't know if I'm going the right way. Yeah, I am. Okay. So, yeah, the Pace was really... It was okay, but it wasn't great. Not like the Wheelnerds. And the Wheelnerds brought in the Pace sometimes. They brought in... they brought in Motorcycles and Misfits. I can't remember if Cleveland Moto was on, but they brought on a lot of guys that were really good at what they did. But yeah, the round table, sometimes it got a little contentious. Some people brought in Motorcycle Men too. Motorcycle Men's okay. I just don't listen to it. Like, it's probably a good podcast. I just don't have time, and it's just not really fitting. There's been a couple episodes like that I listened to. And here's my first stop of the day, a big old cannon. Oh, and a bald eagle. Sweet. America. Oh, by the way, it's Memorial Day. So I figured I'd do some coddywampling while talking about motorcycle media. All right. Now, I think I was talking about the Pace, the round tables. So in the round tables, you did have, and these are current ones that I do listen to, Motorcycle and Misfits and the Cleveland Moto podcast. And the Cleveland Moto podcast, let's start with Motorcycles and Misfits, because that's kind of the glue. So Motorcycle and Misfits started off as a podcast to help, gain knowledge of fixing, motorcycles and things like that. And because you have the Recycle Garage in Santa Cruz, California, that's Liza Miller's project that she's been working on for forever. She's been doing an excellent job. They picked up Miss Emma, who was very helpful in the whole situation. And, I love the Miss Emma episodes. Those are like knowledge just incarnate. But yeah, the whole thing about that podcast, it used to be more about fixing motorcycles and stuff. And as the crew has gotten older. I feel it's more about travel, and I kind of don't like it. I'm being honest, I don't. They get on some people who have travel companies, and then it gets to it used to be to the point where like it'd be a month straight of, oh, go on Cat's Ride, and it's like, yeah, I kind of need to stop listening to you. I have not been listening as much. I like Liza. I like the people there. I think they're great. I think they've made some changes. They've admitted to making changes, but it's just not for me right now, which is kind of a shame. But you have a ton of episodes, because they've been, I called them the coelacanth of the motorcycle podcast, because they survived it all. Like, I did not say the Wheelnerds kind of went away after the pandemic. I think life got in the way, and then the pace ended up way before, again, life. They were talking about doing all this stuff, and then at the very end, they that's a new Mac, by the way. The very end, they just were like, you know what, we can't do this. Like, they really wanted to do it, but I could tell that they had to deal with work and life, and it's part of it. Sucks, but it is what it is. So yeah, they ended up just doing that stuff and just going to turn right. Yeah, so they ended up ending early, which sucks. But yeah, back to the task at hand. So you had the Cleveland Motorcycle and Misfits. They're great. Now, they did lead me into Cleveland Moto, which is one I will probably listen to every week, or every week, or when I get a chance. So, I'm going to turn left here. I hope he doesn't kill me. Cool, thank you. So the whole motorcycle or Cleveland Moto podcast, Unky Phil and his dealership, that's actually the unique thing about it. If you want to know what it's like to run a dealership, that's the best thing. And trust me, like, he gets bothered so much. Some of the stuff I deal with at work, he deals with. So, like, I have, like, a little bit of, okay, man, I know your pain. Some of his stories get a little tall. I will say that. They're about as tall as some of the beers they drink, or tall as some of the Long Island iced teas that they drink at Porco's. But yeah, they are... damn it. But that is what... that is one of my favorites. You learn a lot about repair work, but you also learn about running a business and just all that other stuff. But take some of the stuff he says with a grain of salt. Some of the stories I think are a little tall. Especially, I guess he offered a Harley dealership cash for their piece of junk, Street 500, and they didn't take it. I'm like, what kind of bad businessman doesn't take cash? So, and they wanted to pay MSRP. I'm like, yeah, there's some... No idiot would do that. That's my only caveat. So, yeah, that podcast really loved. Now, some other stuff that isn't connected, I will say this. I do recommend listening to, what is it? The Airhead podcast is part of the now it's part of the BMW MOA podcast. It was actually supposed to be something for ADV Rider, and then ADV Rider got sold. And then when it got sold, they kind of were just like, They're just like, take the money. So that gentleman who runs that podcast, he ended up just making it about airheads, and it got picked up by the BMW MOA, which is an organization I belong to. And so he ended up doing that. Now it's getting supported by them, which is great, which it should have been. To be honest, that was covering some of the podcasts that I was missing with the BMW MOA. And what I mean by that is, so BMW has like 200 miles before breakfast and Chasing the Horizon. I forget which one the Wheelnerds were on, but hey, there's a connection there. And Wes Fleming does a great job, but in the last couple of years, he has not been producing like he should have. Again, it's one of those, I think life is just taking over. It's not just that, it's I think he just is really busy, and I think he's just busy, plain and simple. So he doesn't have the time to do it. I know he missed the BMW rally last year. That was a big haul for him, and the fact that the MOA didn't like help him get there was a disappointment. But yeah, you know, so his stuff was good. I think there was like one episode I hated. No, there were two. There was one guy, he, instead of talking about motorcycles, they were talking about guns. I believe in the Second Amendment, but you didn't need to be talking about guns in this episode. And then the other thing was, he left on a sponsor that I really don't like. I mean, I swear he bought a BMW so he can get in with the MOA. He sells camping gear. Dude, don't kill me next time. Thanks. So yeah, it just was not. I mean, and I called that guy out too. I've called that guy out every time he posts something. He would post something on the MOA. I don't think he actually sponsors the MOA anymore. I know some people don't like, really like him, but these are the same people that fall victim to fake news a lot. So, take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, Wes does a good job, but there's like 2 episodes I hate. So, cool. Now that we're done with that, let's talk about something else that I really like. And that is documentaries. And I know this is boring stuff, podcasts and documentaries. But I'll get to movies at some point, in a hot take, I swear. So with movies, or with documentaries, one of my favorites was and always will be On Any Sunday. That is one of the best documentaries about motorcycling. It's about racing. Steve McQueen's awesome. Even when he jumps a giant heavy ass Triumph, but that's a different movie. But yeah, On Any Sunday, and then the music is so banging. That thing slaps. But yeah, that is probably one of my favorite. I wish we didn't have regulations like that today, so we could do more racing, but unfortunately we do have regulations and insurance, and that has killed some of the fun that would happen in that movie, or in that documentary. And a spiritual successor to that is Why We Ride. I really like that movie. I think it's a solid movie. I haven't watched it in a while. I gotta pull that up on the Plex. That is probably one of my favorite movies. Very well polished. When I was starting to ride, that was probably one of my favorite movies. So I do highly recommend that. Now let's go into docu-series. And you know what I'm going to say. I'm on an 1150 GS. What do you think I'm going to say? Long Way Around. That is one of the best. I like Long Way Around. That one I really like. Yeah, it takes a little bit to get going. Same thing with Long Way Down. But they planned so meticulously. They did it so meticulously that that's how you should be planning your big rides. And okay, this is horrible. Why don't you make them stop? Anyway, so the whole Long Way Round, Long Way Down, those two are great. I like Long Way Round's a little bit better. Long Way Down, when Ewan and Charlie got in a pissing match, they were like, I guess they were divorced. I don't know. So they kind of sucked the fun out, but Long Way Round just so good. And it's a bike that I'm riding, so that's important too. The other, those two were good. Long Way Up, I'm sorry. Ewan was a little full of himself on that and decided to go full bore. I'm gonna go electric and we'll show you how great it is. And it's like, yeah, you did the opposite. Number one, you went with the bad electric company, which is Livewire, which, in my opinion, is it only exists to get government money. It doesn't exist to actually exist. It exists to get government money. And I don't like... I've ridden one. I like it. They just have to fix the range, and I'll love it. But I'm sorry. Like, that... I don't like the brand. I would rather have a Zero. So yeah, Zero got ignored. That was a mistake. They didn't even like talk to them. And then on top of it, they just... it just wasn't that good. Like, it just wasn't that good of a... You know, I didn't like the whole going to Mexico thing and getting a chicken bus. And it's like, why? Like, I didn't want... I think it was a cool idea. I just didn't like the whole... I didn't like it. Didn't work with the rest of the show. And I'm liking Long Way Home right now. I think it's a really good... I think Long Way Home is really good. And I'm very happy with it. So... But yeah, that's pretty much it for docuseries. There hasn't been another good motorcycle one. If you know of one, let me know, because I would love to pick up some more boring stuff. Let's talk about movies now. Let's talk about the good stuff that we want. I never saw the Marlon Brando one. What was that? The Wild one. Really should. What was that last one? The one that came out in 2024. Has the game of chicken where you don't know if the guys are gonna kiss. That I heard from Motorcycles and Misfits and Cleveland Moto. But yeah, that movie, was that the Wild Ones? I don't know. But yeah, with Tom Hardy, that one looked good. I just didn't see it. None of the drive-ins were hosted. I'm like, do a bike night. Nobody wanted to do a bike night. Torque, if you want to see a movie... Okay, so the first episode of Wheelnerds I ever listened to was Todd and Chuck getting drunk watching Torque. I highly suggest doing that as my voice cracks. Yeah, I highly suggest doing that. That's just funny. Okay, so yeah, I was just talking about Torque. Here's my hot take. Easy Rider is not a motorcycle movie, or it's not a good motorcycle movie. Easy Rider was a movie that was made so a couple guys could go out on Hollywood money and get high as hell. So, watch the movie and tell me otherwise. Watch it. Like, actually watch it. Because, okay, like, I don't mind the whole Captain America, but yeah, it's counterculture and all this stuff. Yeah, that's cool. But don't go acting like it's like the best motorcycle movie in the world, because it's not. It's not. It's just, it was like a couple of guys smuggling some drugs, go to a hippie commune. They leave the hippie commune. They go out, have more adventures. They pick up Jack Nicholson. Actually, that is the best part of the movie, Jack Nicholson. Then he dies. Spoilers, it's 40 to 50 years old. And then, after that, they end up making the delivery, get messed up on drugs, and the whole, like, last third of the movie, I'm like, what the f is going on? It's not that good. Like, as a movie, it kind of sucks. And if you've worked in, like, any type of entertainment industry, you know that what they're actually doing is like stealing the studio's money and getting messed up on it. So I don't really like. Yeah, the bikes are cool. The bikes are awesome. Captain America bike, awesome. But the whole movie, just to me, I was like, this is just a fucking movie to get a couple of bucks and get high. Like, that's my attitude toward it. I know it's not the best, but it is. That's my opinion on it. That's my hot take on it. And people are like, oh, they should remake it. I'm like, no, let's not. And say we did. They're like, oh, Jason Momoa would be awesome for it. No, he wouldn't. He'd just be brawling out like he did in Aquaman. Yeah, it was not one of my favorite movies. Now, what is my low-key secret favorite motorcycle movie, which you're like, what the hell? And if you watch it, you will say that. Knightriders. And this movie is great. You got a CBX, you got a Ren Fair. Oop, I missed my turn. You got all that. And then you have all this like it's such a weird movie, but it's made by George Romero, you know, Mr. Zombie guy. He made it, he directed it, and there's actually like some Pennsylvania like locations. You see the abate of Pennsylvania in this movie, which is kind of cool. So yeah, Mr. Zombie guy made a motorcycle movie, and then on top of it, tied in with the horror world, Tom Savini, who is one of the best makeup guys. He's in the movie. You think he's the bad guy. You think he's no, he's just there. And he's like, he's not a bad guy, and he's just, yeah, it's a great movie. It's a little long. It's a little confusing. The ending I did not like for numerous reasons, and if you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I understand why Scott didn't like it. But it was the 80s, and some bikes were disposable at the time, and they're now not disposable, so there you go. You might have figured it out. If you did, let me know. But yeah, that is probably my favorite motorcycle movie. I would watch that one again and again. So I gotta find better movies. So if you know any other motorcycle movies, be it motocross, be it motocross, or be it long distance riding or whatever, let me know, because I would love to actually talk about this more. And actually, this is going to be one of my, this is going to probably be a live stream. I'm thinking weekend around June 8th. I don't have the exact date figured out yet, but around June, the week before I go out to the BMW MOA rally, that is when I'd like to host an actual live stream about this stuff. So if you guys are interested, you know, keep an eye on it. If you're interested in joining, hey, I'd like to bring some more people on. So yeah, that is pretty much it for me today. Finally, hopefully I get this one done. I've recorded this twice. I've had technical issues. I don't want to get too into it, but yes, I've had some issues, and I'm hoping that it's finally solved. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to ramble on about motorcycle media. Please like and subscribe if you get a chance. Please don't kill me. Okay. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.